Knowledge dropping here.
Let me admit. Well, welcome, ladies, and anyone else watching to Empower Hour. You are in the hands of the Bank of America champs here to talk about savings for travel and entertainment. And I don't know about you, but I am beyond ready for a getaway. Let's do it safely, but definitely way past due. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Chris and Rochelle, who will tell you more about themselves and leave you with some awesome content. Now, let me see. Thank you. There we are. Let me bring this up on view, full screen. Okay,
Yeah.
Rochelle and Chris,
So
the floor is yours.
if you just want to go to the third slide, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Rochelle Davis, and I am located here in Columbus, Ohio. I am a Merrill Financial Solutions Advisor. I work primarily with clients on our Merrill Edge platform, which is our online platform, and just help clients with any financial need that they might have. Um, and I do this basically. I volunteer with Better Money Habits because I think that all people need access to good financial knowledge, and I want to share what I know so that it might benefit them. Um, my husband and I live in a little town called Ostrander, and we've got three kids, two cats, and a bunny. And I like to do painting and decorating cakes. So you can see there on there, I actually made a 50-year anniversary cake in with the Merrill Lynch bull logo for a colleague. Um, and so that's just a little bit about myself. And I'll go ahead and hand it over to Chris.
I like the cakes. Those are making me hungry.
They were
And I just ate
yummy.
lunch. I mean, this is crazy. Well, hey, thanks so much, Rochelle, for the warm pass over here. My name is Chris, and that's me, that bald guy. I've got a beard in that picture, not now. I'm changing things up, but I love bow ties. If you see me sporting my bow tie today, I figured this was appropriate dress for success, right? So, thanks so much for having me. I believe I'm the only male species in the room, in the virtual room today. So thank you so much, ladies, for having me. Um, I am located in Troy, Ohio. I don't know if any of you know where Troy is. Just about 25 miles north of Dayton, so not too far. About an hour and 15 minutes from the uh, the epicenter of the Ohio State University. Um, why I'm a financial advisor and portfolio advisor with Merrill Lynch Wealth Management. Much like Rochelle, I work on our wealth management platform. So working with individuals that are looking for planning, more extensive planning with with their finances and their wealth. So that's me. My go-to is I help my clients optimize their financial lives. What does optimize mean? It's just a fancy word for if there's a gap in their planning, I help them fill that gap. Okay. So, and I love to find solutions. That's what I really, I've come from a service oriented background. I served 8 years in the United States Marine Corps. And when I got out, I thought, you know what, I want to continue to serve people. How can I use my expertise, and how can I use my personality or lack thereof to help folks? So, um, knowledge is power. That's why I'm here. The more knowledge that I can impart on folks, the better decisions that they can make for themselves moving forward. And if you need help with those, we have folks here at Bank of America Merrill Lynch that are happy to help out. So we're happy to be in partnership with Dress for Success Columbus. Some things about me. I love everything Buckeyes. Big fan, huge Ohio State fan. My oldest sister is a graduate of Ohio State, and I've always been a fan ever since. Right, the literally the earth stops spinning and rotating when Buckeye football is on. So I hope you're all I hope you're all on board with that. If you're a fan of that team up north, well, I'm very sorry. I love golf, and a funny little fact about me is I can wiggle my ears. I'm not going to do it on screen because I'm a little bashful, but it's an interesting trick that I was able to um, learn how to do when I was younger. So, with that being said, we're gonna run right. We'll move right into the presentation. So, next slide. And if I'm not mistaken, we will have a question and answer session, Rochelle and Bridget, after this. Is that correct?
I think we're scheduled till 2. So when we finish up, we're definitely available for questions.
Yeah. And I think questions are great because it helps clarify some things, and we can add some additional value to the presentation. So spending and savings, as Bridget had mentioned earlier in her introduction, we're going to split this up. I'm going to take over the spending and savings piece, and then we're going to transition into travel, planning a trip, things like that. So with that being said, next slide, please. All right. So there's 3 tenets, in my opinion, that you'll learn here in my portion and beyond, Rochelle's as well, is developing your budget, jump-starting your emergency fund, and prioritizing your savings. The common theme that I have most of the time with my clients and prospects are you've got to have a plan and you've got to stick to it, okay? And as I always say, Rome wasn't built in one day. It takes time, right? We're not here to move the needle all in one day. Often what happens is what I've found is somebody who's budgeting and they're trying to pay down some credit card debt or whatever the case may be. They go too fast. They think they've got to do it all in one day, and then it frustrates them, and then they just give up on it. So the idea is a plan. Be diligent and be disciplined with your plan, but let it go slow and steady wins the race. Next slide. Get organized, right? You can't, that's the plan, right? Is organizing and planning. Create a schedule that works for you, and then streamline the payment process. So when we say get organized, let's have a structure. What are we focused on? Are we focused on just saving more? Are we focusing on spending? And they go hand in hand. But the idea is to find out where you're at, what's coming in, and what's going out. And if we have more going out than what's coming in, then we have a deficit. And obviously, in that situation, we likely see an increase in credit card balances and things like that we want to stay. So we want to find out what's most important to you about the plan. Emergency funding, and we'll get into that here shortly. And a schedule. Create a schedule that works for you. This particular piece is sitting down and looking at your budget once a week, like on Sunday morning when you're sipping on coffee or whatever the case may be. This could be if you work with an advisor, if you work with a financial professional, sitting down with them once a month and going over your plan. Have an accountability buddy, if you will, whether that's maybe your spouse, your significant other, whatever the case may be. Hold yourself to that plan that you've created there in step 1. And then number 3, streamline the payment process. Show of hands, well, I only see one. I see Jerry there, but a virtual show of hands. how many of you pay your bills through check, through the mail? How many of you, and this is a rhetorical question, of course, how many of you are paying through your bank's online bill pay service? I think that's a great way to schedule those payments and really streamline the process. So you're not writing checks on my mom used to do it every Sunday morning. I'd wake up, I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? She's got papers everywhere. I'm balancing my checkbook. I'm like, of course, I'm 8, 10 years old. It's checkbook, what's that? Who cares? Money, it grows on trees, right? No, it doesn't. But no, but really, in all seriousness, having that streamlined process, if it's easier for you to keep track of that spending and that budgeting online, figure out a way to incorporate that into your plan. And next slide. We got some chats here. Oh yeah, Jerry
she does both.
And then, yeah, good job. Awesome. Good to hear, Jerry. Good to hear. So why your spending plan might not be working? Maybe why are you overspending? It's too complicated. Easy. Go back to the basics, right? When things get complicated, oftentimes it's because we've layered so many things on top of it that you've literally just lost yourself in whatever your original goal was. So go back to the basics, go back to the drawing board, if you will. Your life changed. Of course, changes happen in your life, and you want to adjust to those changes. So build that into your plan. Maybe revamp your plan. That's why it's good to look at it every so often, so you can say, hey, this has changed in my life. How is that going to impact my spending? And let's make adjustments where we see fit. And the dreaded buy button. Who here loves Amazon? I know Rochelle does.
I already told you. I
So
do. I will share my quick little solution.
Yeah,
Chris.
go ahead.
Let me interrupt. I told you the other day, when I get into the habit, or I go down the Amazon hole and I'm like, that's only $2. That's only $5. What I'll do is I'll switch to a recipe app I have, and I get the same sensation of buying something every time I save a recipe to my recipe book. I think there's really something to, I'm a little bit of a psychology hobbyist, if you would. I read a lot of books about it. And I think there's something to that psychology of buying. But the great thing is, with a recipe app, it's free. You can just get a free recipe. Yep. I don't know. It works for me. It works for me.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. Like distraction, distracting, setting I can only click the buy button once today, or I can only click the buy button, once, twice this week, if you will, right? So, or don't click the buy button, click the other button that's generally right next to it, add to my cart.
Yeah.
And come back to it.
Click the wish button.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
So like add it to my wish list. Yeah.
Maybe I click the buy button too much. I don't know. And then of course, while your spending might not be working, you're a giver. It's a very noble, it's a very altruistic thing to be giving to those that you love that may be in need, or just buying. And that's wonderful. Don't lose sight of that, because that's a wonderful trait to have. But I think in all of these instances, to just kind of put a bow on this slide, moderation. Everything and anything in moderation is not bad. Okay. Spending in moderation is fine. Spending things on things that you don't necessarily wants more than needs is not bad. Just moderate it, do it in moderation. So with that, next slide, please. Oh, maybe there we go. And then filling out a spending plan, of course, or a budget, right? We have these at our disposal, and I don't know, Rochelle, is it possible for us to? I'm happy to dig a budget up.
I've got a really, I'm sure you have access to it too, but I've got a great interactive one where you type in the numbers and it calculates it for you. It's like an Excel and a PDF all in one.
So yeah, that's great.
So Bridget,
if your question. If
I'll send that.
you're thinking out there, where do I start? We will be happy to send that out.
Mhm.
Of course, we may need to get some approvals or whatever to do that, but I know if you go to bank B of A, BOFA.com, you can always find resources as well. So, but yeah, starting with that that structure, that spreadsheet, that plan, to do that. So, next slide. And our emergency funding, what emergency should cover. This is a rhetorical question, but ask yourself, do I have an emergency fund? If I don't, where do I start? If I do I have enough? And generally 3 months of savings for your everyday costs is what you would need, is what we'd like you to start at, right? So your rent or your mortgage payment, your groceries, utilities, got to pay all those essentials first, right? And then moving into the important cell phone bills, things like that, and then moving into other things, more of the. I break down my goals with my clients as essential, absolutely shows. I mean, these have to we have to have money for this, right? And then your important goals. It's very important to me and us that we have this, but it's not essential. It's not an absolute must. And then of course there's aspirational goals. I want to save for that vacation. I want to save for um, that new car. I want to save for whatever. That's good. Okay, Jerry's got a question here. So do you mind if I share this, Jerry? Okay. Is that a yes? Okay. So since the pandemic, grocery shopping shortages have caused pricing to be higher. But if you need the item, you purchase it. Then the delivery fees, tips, and make budgeting for groceries more challenging. Absolutely. Um, that's that's. I don't know. Do you want to chime in? Do you want to that's a stumper for me there, Jerry. Do you have anything that you'd like to chime in on there, Rochelle?
So I think you're absolutely right that some prices on certain grocery items are higher, like toilet paper, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that we'll find is you can vary the grocery stores. That's the first thing. Aldi's, I think everybody in Ohio would be familiar with Aldi's. Even if you haven't gone into it, you might have seen their new blue orange signs because they're just opening more and more locations. The good ironic part about the pandemic is Aldi's has gone into curbside service. Yeah, Caroline, I'm with you. Aldi's is awesome. But here's one of the tricks or the tips. Number one, it does take longer. It's going to take more time, but shop across grocery stores. So with the apps nowadays, on our phones, we're able to download the grocery apps and compare prices like we never could before. I mean, I get so crazy about it. I have my husband's phone in one hand with Walmart pulled up and Kroger pulled up on my phone, and I'm like matching off the bills, right? Take into account gas perks. So sometimes while Walmart might be cheaper for me, gas perks at Kroger, I have a family of 5. We have a large grocery bill, especially with teenagers. Kroger still turns out to be cheaper because I save so much on the gas and the in-store coupons. So I would say come back to coupon shopping a bit. Cost comparison. Get a lot of your staples at a place like Aldi's: milk, eggs, cheese. These things, rarely does brand make a difference, right? I'm like a golden Oreo girl. there is nothing like a golden Oreo, but it's got to be Oreos, right? And then in terms of the fees for pickup and delivery. Now I understand that delivery is something that's very important for folks who are disabled, and that's very important. And unfortunately, we have not seen delivery fees go down. But if you are able to drive, most of the stores have completely waived their pickup fees. So Kroger used to charge $5 to pick up. Now it's $0. Walmart's always been $0. So I would utilize those. And when it comes to living on a budget and we need something, Chris was talking earlier in the budget that there's sacrificing for today so that tomorrow might look a little better or more like we want. And so even though those golden Oreos cannot be matched at $3 a package, maybe today I'll go with the $1.50 Kroger one if I really, really want a golden cookie, right? So that's what I would suggest there. Yeah. Bridget, I'm with you. They're good. But it is challenging. And when I get into the travel part, I'll talk a little bit more about how we plan for these things that we know are going to be more expensive, including groceries, because they're not going to go down.
Yeah, that's great. Great insights. Thanks, Rochelle. Also, just to add to that, I know my wife loves Walmart's pickup, grocery pickup. And that I think the minimum on that is like, or you can even do you can do Meijer if you have Meijer in the area. They do shipped, and if I'm not mistaken, if your order is over $35, it's free. Of course, tips. If it's coming straight to your door, you want to be mindful of the service that individual is providing you, that added value that they're providing to you. So you can always, you have to calculate that into it. But I mean, Walmart is great because you can. So I guess my point is to when you're compiling that grocery list, do it in a way where you're at a certain spending point where you're going to get that the fee waived or whatever, and I hope that helps. But yeah, jumpstarting your emergency fund, know your number. We talked about those living expenses for 3 months, and it was on the screen there. I didn't mention the 3-month part, but yeah, having 3 months of living expenses in savings is ideal. There it is. Yep. Yeah. So multiply that by 3 months. So know your number. What is your number? And then what is your monthly number? And then multiply that by 3. And if you're not there, then, you slowly can get there over time. But like I said, just methodically getting there and working toward eventually you'll get to it. So back to the next slide. Pick something and cut it out. I talked about prioritizing your spending. Those essentials, the important, and the aspirational. If it's something or not so the want, if you will, pick one want, quote unquote, out on your list and cut that out, and just go a month without doing it, and get yourself into a state of mind where you're like, yeah, I can live without that. And then the next month, maybe try something else and eliminate that. And then, make it routine. Do it on a routine. Okay, this month, I'm gonna just go the entire month without doing it. That's gonna be my goal. Is I'm gonna go a month without buying 16 packs of golden Oreos, right? Although I like double stuff. I'm a double stuff kind of guy. But
on the chocolate, yep.
Have an accountability buddy, right? Your spouse, your significant other, your partner, whomever it may be. And this isn't keeping up with the Joneses. This is holding yourself accountable, or having somebody help hold you accountable and not being tempted to break that routine and that whatever that want that you're cutting out. So next slide. We got another one on here. Yeah, Rochelle, another finding. Yep. Yep. Yeah, the impulse is, what was it? I'm sorry, what did it say about the impulse there?
Oh, the impulse shopping at the grocery store.
Yes.
No, when you're in the store, so
Yep.
maybe you have to pay $10 for delivery, but if you went into the store to buy all your stuff, you might have bought $30 worth of impulse items.
Yeah. No, that's great. You know, those cash there's your that tunnel that you walk through to get to the cash register, that's lined with magazines and snacks and candies. I mean, yeah, that's hey, it's marketing at its best. So let's look at savings best practices. The plan for yourself every day. Set a spending plan every day. Say, you know, today I'm not going to, when I go to Starbucks or when I go to Tim Hortons or when I go to wherever, I'm only going to get this is my budget for coffee, or this is my budget for my morning snack on the way to work or what have you, you know. Take public transportation whenever you can. I mean, I live in small town USA here in Troy, and public transportation isn't nearly as available. It's not really a viable option. I'm not so sure if it even is in Columbus or not in that area, but look into that. Your cell phone plan. Maybe not change it, but if you're a loyal customer to your provider, call them on your birth month. Use your birth month each year as a way to go through your plan and say, if I look at things, I don't use that much data. Do I really need a unlimited data plan on my phone? And look at that and say, hey, I don't need it. Maybe I can look for a plan that better suits my needs for what's happening in my life right now. And even just or call up and say, hey, I'm looking to cut costs on my cell phone plan this year. What do you got for me? And shop around. It's not, and if you have to leave your current provider to go somewhere else to get a better deal, then maybe maybe you should. I don't know. That's a decision that you have to make, but that's out there. So forgo something you buy often, but perhaps don't need. That Starbucks coffee every day, 5 times a week on the way to work, or whatever. Or whatever the case may be. I don't know what you ladies are buying these days, but I'm not buying fingernail polish. Or maybe my wife is a Color Street. I don't. She sells Color Street as a hobby, and I don't know if you know what Color Street is, but it's basically nail polish in sticker form, and you put it on your nails. And if you're into that, don't buy 17 packs of those in 1 month. Maybe cut down to maybe 10 packs or something, Stick to your grocery list. Don't let those impulse items take hold and coerce you. Okay. And then of course, pack a meal instead of eating out, make for dinner, make a little bit extra on Monday night so you can eat it on Tuesday afternoon. Next slide. Pay down debt or save. We're at about 1:40, so I want to make sure that I'm giving Rochelle time for her portion. So, do you have any debt? Do you have an emergency? Should you be paying down your debt, or should you be saving? That is a very, very personalized question, but as a whole, I would generally say it's good to knock out high interest debt before you start saving. So that's something to consider there. But you have to balance that with your personalized situation. And if you need help with that, we're happy to we're happy to help with that. You can reach out to us, and we'll give Bridget our contact information to help you with those. Next slide. And then key takeaways. 4 good takeaways here. Review your bills and your budget. Review your bills and trim the fat, so to speak. If there's ways that you can cut back on costs in your cell phone plan, your grocery list, go ahead and do that. Boost your emergency funding. Cut back on the things, those wants, and start funneling that money into the emergency fund. Okay. Find new ways to save. Great way to save on the B of A app. If you're a B of A checking account holders, you can round up. You can do the Roundup Saving, where if you buy an item for $1.50 and you have this set up, it'll take the additional 50 cents and put in your savings account. So you just spent $2, but 50 cents of it was savings. Okay. And decide how to allocate your savings, right? Savings isn't just short term, it's long term as well. So are you allocating? Make sure you're paying your future self so that you can enjoy a fruitful retirement without having to sacrifice too much. So with that being said, thanks so much for, I'll still be here and I'll take questions at the end, but I yield the floor to my colleague, Rochelle.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. So we're going to dive in now to planning for an affordable vacation, right? But we're going to be using and talking a lot about some of the concepts that Chris talked about. So I encourage you guys, I think our chat is working really well. So just pop in any questions into the chat or just chime in verbally if you want. All of that is good. So, everybody wants to take time out for family, friends, and for yourself to relax and recharge. And while taking a vacation is fun and enjoyable, and it does that, it can also be a source of stress because we find ourselves struggling with paying for the trip. So the next couple of slides are going to give you some, general ideas about if you're flying, for example, flying domestically on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Saturday, right? Or international pricing. Bridget, the next slide would be fine, please. But when you start to shop around for your vacation, you want to make sure that you're looking at all sorts of different factors. So it used to be when the internet first started to evolve, booking a hotel or a plane ticket or any travel item on one of those travel websites was a surefire way to get the best price. But in today's time, that is not always the case anymore. And in fact, can be cumbersome and detrimental if you need to change your plans. So nowadays, going directly to the hotel's website can give you the ability to not only book a very inexpensive room, but then you are able to work with the hotel directly if you need to make changes, or the airline directly if you need to make changes. This happened to me. We were in an accident driving on a vacation, and I called the hotel and they told me that they couldn't change to a closer location for me because I had booked through one of those online travel sites. So keep all of this in mind as you're using the internet to help plan your trip. Don't forget to go directly to the providers and see. So go directly to American or Southwest, go directly to Choice Hotels or Holiday Inn and see what pricing they offer directly on their website. Next slide, please. So this is again a tip about booking for your trip. It's always a nice idea to join a loyalty club, whether that's through, I mean, even shopping with groceries, right? Or something. If they have a loyalty club, join that, because you could earn free nights, you could earn extra by booking things together. So when you're looking at, oh, I want to fly to St. Augustine, Florida, and I want to stay in a Holiday Inn, you can book those two together and save money on that. And even some airlines will offer and partner with some hotel chains to do this directly from their website. So again, part of the enjoyment of my vacation is planning it. So hopefully you, or at least one other member of your family, would find enjoyment in really planning out and finding the best deals to be had for your vacation. Next slide, please. And then when you're on vacation, you want to think about how you can actually save money on the vacation itself. So as you're researching where you want to go, think about going to the parks, going to the beaches, going to national landmarks that don't cost anything to get in, right? Those places can be very enjoyable and have just as much fun as, paying to go to an amusement park. Certainly if your destination is Disneyland or Disney World, that's where you want to go. But if you're just looking to go to the beach, try to find attractions. And many times you'll be able to find those either by going to the state tourism or the city tourism website for where you're wanting to visit. For me, again, on a vacation, meals are a big deal for me and my family of 5. So I always make sure that we rent lodging that has a kitchen. And I do this so that we can. Oh, Terry, did you have a question? I think you're on mute if you did.
I think she was just chiming in on St. Augustine.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Great. So for the meals, I'll make sure that we rent a place that has a kitchen. We go shopping when we get there immediately. I've made a food itinerary, if you will, of all the meals that I'll be cooking on vacation. Go grocery shopping for it. And we do that like the first night or the first morning that we get there. And then we're only eating out like once a day. And that's either a very, we call it dinner, a late lunch, early dinner, or just, lunch or dinner. So we make that the biggest meal of the day. And then we can have snacks, which are great as well for when you're driving in the car, walking on the beach. You can pack those snacks from the pantry and just take them with you instead of buying a $2 or $3 bottle of water or soda on your walk. Next slide, please. So one of the things now is we want to think about planning our trip and paying for the trip. So in general, credit cards are financial instruments that you can use, and it's kind of either they're really good or they're really bad. And the really bad is we spend what we don't have. We can't pay the bill off. So I have a couple of thoughts about that. The first one is only have just one credit card. And we're talking about the major ones, Visa, MasterCard, Discover. Just have one. And then the second idea, lower your credit limit. I have a credit card, but my credit limit is lower than my monthly income. And I keep it that way so that I can pay it off every month. So the other addition is coming back to the budgeting that Chris was talking about. When we live on a budget that is very tight, or we're just spending without really understanding where our money is going, it just kind of seems like it's gone at the end of every month. One of the great things to do is to budget everything. So I actually used to budget holidays and birthday gifts. And every month I set aside $150 towards gifts for the entire year. Well, say you want to take a $3,000 vacation, right? You can do that. So maybe you start now and you say, okay, next year we're going to take this great vacation and it's going to cost $3,000, and start putting aside $250 every month into a savings account. And by the time you get to your vacation, you'll be able to pay for it. So this is something just to keep in mind with that budget. I tell people budgeting isn't necessarily about saying what you cannot spend. It's about knowing where your money is going and choosing where you want it to go. Next slide, please. Okay. These are just very simple tips and tricks about traveling. The Postal Service and paying your bills. You can do this online with the US Postal Service now. I mean, it used to be a big hassle to stop your mail. Now you can choose to stop it. You tell them what date you want them to bring it to the house, and they'll deliver all your mail to you on the set date that you want. Paying your bills. I'm not a big fan of telling a bill company like the electric company, hey, you can come into my checking account and take my money. But I am a big fan of telling your bank, hey, on the 15th of every month, send my electric company this much money. So every bank has bill pay nowadays. I encourage you to go online, look at your bill pay options, and see how you might get electronic delivery of your mail, of your bills, and auto payment of those bills as well, directly from your checking account to the provider. Next slide, please. And so then we're looking at, protecting your accounts while traveling and using mobile and online banking. I know there's a lot of people out there who say, I don't do my banking online. Well, I've got a maybe surprise for you. Even if you've never created a user ID, your account is enabled for online banking. And in fact, if you have not created a user ID, your account is more vulnerable. And the reason for this is because if a hacker hacks your identity and they have your birthday and they have your social and they have your account number, they can go in and set up the online access for your account. So I strongly urge everyone, even if you don't plan on using it, be sure to go in, create a user ID and a password for your online account, for your bank account, and then keep that in a safe place, whether it's on an online security locker or whether it's in a secure location physically. But just saying I've never signed up for online banking doesn't mean that your account is any more protected. And in fact, it may be more vulnerable. Having online or mobile banking allows you to really look at what your activities are and what you're doing. And there are so many tools that are available to help you keep your account safe. So please remember that, online banking isn't, number one, it's not as scary and vulnerable as it used to be. It's actually much safer than it's ever been. And you can actually set up extra security like text codes and PINs to protect the account even further. Next slide, please. So then as we're going on and we're looking, this is just a good rule of thumb anytime. Make copies of your important documents. It doesn't matter whether you're traveling or not. You should have copies of your credit cards, your driver's license, those types of things in a safe, secure location so that should your wallet or your purse be stolen or lost, you have those pieces of information. When you go on a trip, the extra part is give it to a family member or a close friend who's not going with you. That way, if something unfortunate happens, there's people who have availability to help you. And then, you know, in the day of social media, you know, everybody's sharing everything, but believe it or not, hackers will watch to see when you're saying, I'm having a great time in Mexico. Well, the house is empty. Let's go see what we can find. So just be mindful about what you're posting online about your personal life. Next slide, please. And when you are planning to travel, take extra precautions. You want to make sure that you take advantage of any resources that your bank provides to you, that you're able to have security alerts set up on your accounts, but you also need to check on your healthcare coverage. You want to be certain that while you're traveling, if one of your family members becomes ill, you'll know exactly how to use your healthcare. So I just encourage you, call the service numbers for your bank and for your healthcare and say, look, I'm going to Germany. I need to know what to do if X, Y, or Z happens. Or I'm, you know, going to Mexico, or I'm going to California. Even a trip across states, you want to make sure that you understand how your healthcare would work. Next slide, please. Oh, Chris, that's great. Very nice. Everybody, Chris shared a link in the chat for some travel tips there. So again, we're talking about, all right, how are we going to pay on our vacation? Are we going to pay with our credit card or debit card or cash? Credit cards are really nice because you're earning points. They're also nice because a lot of them, if you check with specifically, you can find ones that have no foreign transaction fees if you're traveling internationally, which can be quite expensive. So those are the plus sides of using a credit card. The downside is that you would overspend. So just make sure that whatever you're spending, you know you'll be able to pay that off. Debit cards and credit cards both have the ability to be more secure in the sense that there is no liability if your card is used fraudulently. It used to be on a debit card, there was liability, but there's not anymore. So some people feel just safer carrying a card instead of carrying cash. But do remember, when you're traveling, there are going to be certain locations that may not take cards, especially if we're traveling to, say, Mexico or a country in South America or a remote location. You really do want to have cash, and especially their own currency. So look into that. Read up a little bit again about what the travel is like there and what types of payments are best accepted. And then, of course, for tipping, cash is always nice to have. You know, it's not always as simple as it is in the US of just adding a tip to your credit card bill. Next slide, please. And then find out where you can bank locally. So I'm going to jump back just a second to the cash. When you're traveling with cash, keep a lot of it in a lot of different places. Put some in your shoe, pin a little envelope to the inside of your coat, leave some in the hotel safe, split the cash up amongst you and your spouse. Lots of different ways to make sure that if your wallet gets pickpocketed, in fact, none of your cash is in your wallet. You know, put it in different places, different pockets, so that when if you're robbed, you know, you're going to hand them one pocket of cash and they don't know about all the other places you have the cash stashed. But in terms of like figuring out where to bank locally, some banks are waiving ATM fees, some are not. ATM fees are pretty exorbitant. So if you are looking to get cash out of your account while you're on vacation, I would say actually look at doing that cash back at the store. I mean, places even like CVS or Walgreens, you can get cash back. Now, many of them have started to charge a fee, but still that fee is not as large as an ATM fee. So check with your bank and find out what their fees are at for non-bank ATM withdrawals, non same bank. So like you bank with PNC, but you go to Bank of America, find out what those fees are. And then just keep aware that there's other ways to get cash now by, just right there at a shopping center or something like that. Next slide. So we're all done there. I know we've ran right up on the 2:00 hour, but we definitely do want to answer any questions that you guys might have. You made really good use of the chat button. So does anybody out there have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I definitely, as someone that has children, I love the Airbnbs because it's, even somewhere like Town Place Suites, of course, they have the 2 rooms and the kitchen, but I think you fare a little bit better with the Airbnb and hitting a local grocery store when you get there.
Mm-hmm.
We've been traveling like that for years. We rarely stay in a hotel unless it's just for one night. And we also drive. One of the things that we do is we rent a vehicle. And we do that for a couple of reasons, but primarily is because that time I told you I had an accident on a vacation, we had actually rented the car and the tire blew. And instead of like having to get our own vehicle into the shop and get our vehicle replaced, Hertz came right out, gave us a new van, and we changed our stuff and off we were going 3 hours later. Now it was 3 hours later, but still it wasn't a hassle that we had to deal with. And renting, a van, I usually rent a van for about $500 for the week. And when you think about airfare for 5 people and then not having a car at your destination, unless it's far away, I like the drive.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that, Rochelle.
Yeah, that's good for us.
And it alleviates the wear and tear on your vehicle,
Yep.
So it's great. That just a quick note on that. If you're that State Department, that is the U.S. State Department's website, their travel website. My time in the military, I got to know, became very familiar with the State Department, traveling overseas, and they did briefings for us military folks and things like that, and a wealth of knowledge if you're traveling out. It'll literally tell you if you're traveling, you type in a destination and it'll tell you if you should go there or not based on threat levels and things like that. And it'll tell you that if you go there, these are the things to look out for. Very, very informative, not to be like, not to make it a scary thing, but you just never know. And it's best to be equipped with all the resources at your disposal. And the state, you register with the State Department when you go overseas. And that way, if something happens in that area, they'll know how to get a hold of you. And you, as a U.S. citizen, you're almost protected by the U.S. State Department when you're overseas. So it's really neat.
Yeah. Anyone else have a question or want to share something with the group about how you manage things? Or
I've got one in the interim.
Okay.
Who got something? Who took away something out of our time today? Can you, if you don't mind, just typing in your chat, one takeaway that you think this is really great. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna implement this. We'll wait for those to queue up.
Yeah.
Or you can unmute yourself, whatever. and you don't have to participate.
I like to say that this is Jerry. That it's been a very great presentation, both from Rochelle and Chris. Um, both brought a lot of good thoughts out here. Um, and one of the things I liked about the budgeting part is, when your plan is not working, to go back and review it and find out why it's not working, because, we make just like how we make to-do lists.
Yeah.
We say we're going to do something today, and then at the end of the day, we look at the list, we didn't do anything that was on the list. And, before the pandemic, my granddaughter used to go shopping with me sometimes. And I can remember one very, very particular time, very close, right near before everything shut down. I had my list and I gave her the list. And she was, at that time, she was 9 years old. And she looked at the list and she looked at the grocery cart and she said, Gigi, she said, you need to stick to your list. This card that's on this list.
That's cute.
And
that's awesome.
I really hadn't thought about it. I'm just, oh, I need this. Oh, we need this. Oh, we need that. And I did have this list, but I was not adhering to my list.
Yeah.
And so she really brought that to my attention. So
yeah, she was your accountability buddy there.
Yes,
That's good.
So that gave me the opportunity to push myself harder, making sure that I do.
That's great. It looks like Caroline had a question here, which I'll go ahead and read it if that's okay. If you have a hefty savings account, is it better to make the monthly payments on car/loans, etc., and save the savings just in case, or is it better to put a lump sum down on the? So I think what you're comparing is it better to save, or is it better to pay down the debt? I would say a combination of both would likely be, some combination of both would likely be the best course of action. If you're going to put $300 extra toward your car payment, and that's kind of what you're leaning for, think about your future self. Think about that emergency fund and say, let's do 150, let's split it up, Yeah. So
you also definitely want to think about interest.
Yeah.
So, I remember I'm 46, and back when I was a young kid getting my first car, my dad was like, always tell him you're paying cash and always buy used, and always, there's a little bit of truth to that still today, but there's also, with our interest rate environment, you have to be very, very careful about choosing to pay cash, because if your interest rate is really, really low on that car, even 0%, which if you're borrowing money for free, you better do that. That's like amazing. But if you're even just paying like 1.9%, you could still be doing something maybe better or having security by keeping your money in cash. So like Chris says, it's a fine line, and maybe it's about splitting the difference. And so it's good to talk to someone. At Bank of America, we have relationship bankers in the banking centers. We have Merrill Edge. We have financial advisors at Merrill Lynch. And it doesn't cost anything to talk to us. So, yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah, great question, because
very good question.
The delicate balance between your interest payments that you're making and sacrificing emergency funding, and it's great to pay down a little bit, maybe make an extra a half a principal payment, because ultimately when that principal payment goes down, that percentage is a smaller amount. In dollars, the percentage is a smaller amount now. So and that's important too. So it's great. Obviously the percentage doesn't move, but the dollar amount tied to that percentage is lower because the principal's lower. So yeah, great question, Caroline. Any other ones out there? What about you, Terry? Or is it who was it?
Terry.
Terry. Oh, okay, yeah. All right. No, you had already had your question. I'm sorry. I'm not that you can't answer or ask another one, but.
Hi, this is Terry. Yeah. And I did put it in the chat, but just in case you can't understand it. So you guys have great travel ideas, and myself and several other friends, roughly less than 12 friends, are going to get together a la COVID to reconnect after quite a few years we haven't seen each other since college. So I love some of the ideas of what you guys did in terms of traveling. Any ideas of what's a good place to go? You know, we'd love to charter a boat or something like that, but some things might be a challenge because of COVID. So any ideas on a group getting together anywhere from California to Ohio? Any ideas that you guys could share of something you've experienced, or just throw it out there, and we'll of course do our homework and research it.
Sure,
but I'm just looking for some ideas.
I know. So if you're thinking like in the middle of Ohio and California, I have been to Mount Rushmore.
There you go.
How did I forget that? So I've been to Mount Rushmore, which has so much that's very inexpensive. So much. And what I would suggest for 12 friends in a COVID situation is I would suggest renting a house.
Yeah.
I would suggest renting a house.
Airbnb for sure.
Yeah. I also use HomeAway. And I've never rented a house that was not livable. And most of the houses have been very, very nice. I would even maybe look into renting a house with a pool if you go in the summertime. That way you have like a built-in relaxation activity. And many of these houses that you rent, they'll include, you know, they're renting to people on vacation. So they'll have a pool table or a ping pong table, or they stock the house up with board games and that type of thing. Another nice place, it's not so much in the middle, but the Wisconsin Dells. I don't know if anybody's ever heard about those, but they are these beautiful geographical formations in Wisconsin. And the Dells are like, they're like little lakes or little river inlets. And you can like take horse-drawn wagons to get up in, and you can take a boat ride to get back in. And it's really, you'd be like, I didn't know about those, you know. So I think those two locations would have been where I've been, in the middle of California and Ohio. But definitely look into renting a home, splitting the cost of the rent amongst you evenly, and then splitting the cost of the food. You know, go shopping together and split the cost of the food evenly. And I think that would be really safe because you can all be together in the same house and, you know, keep your little quarantine bubble.
Yep.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I would add maybe, let me see if I can't throw this on the, here's one that my wife is a big fan of, Napa Valley. I mean, it's just, Napa Valley is one of those very, very serene places. And it just, to me, it just screams 12 women reconnecting after years of being apart. And it just seems like it would be a really great place to reconnect with those folks that you've been away from for so long, but are still important pieces of your life, you know? So maybe that.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan of New Orleans. I lived in South Carolina, and I visited for 4 years. I visited New Orleans with my wife and I. There's just something very, very interesting about New Orleans. Savannah, Georgia is a really, really nice place. It's just, there's nothing like the South. I mean, it just screams rest and relaxation. I mean, that's me though. So hopefully those are some good ideas as well. But
they're great. Thank you both so much.
Yeah, sure.
Anyone else? And, you know, if you have a question too that wasn't exactly about our topic, but might be financial, you know, and, or, you know, that's fine too.
Yeah. Yep.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a hi. When it comes to moderate spending, I wanted to learn more about what that means.
Sure.
I mean, I know it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm just now beginning with my budget and my bills, and I think this is a good time to try to save more, maybe.
Yeah.
And I don't have too many questions about it. I just wanted to
Yeah,
know
no, that's great.
how do I.
That's awesome. It's a great question, and you've got to start somewhere. So that's wonderful. I think moderate spending would be, you know, focus on the needs, right? First and foremost, focus on the needs, and make your future self a need. I say future self, and people are like, "What are you talking about?" Um, Tiana, I mean, where do you see Tiana? Where do you see her 20 years from now? What does the Tiana 20 years from now look like, right? And how are you gonna, you know, what kind of, you know, what situation are you in at that point? And you have control. You have some control over that situation by the decisions you make now and and the way you plan. So, without getting too much into detail, because I don't feel discussing those personal things are appropriate in a group setting. We could certainly go offline, and you could talk. You know, we could certainly talk about that, and I will make sure that our information gets over to Bridget,
Yeah.
and of course she can. She can disseminate that, or whatever the case may be. But Rochelle, I'll hand it over to you, and you can provide
Well,
your insight to Tiana.
yeah. So moderate spending, it can mean something different for everyone, right? I think that um, a big difficulty in the United States is that no matter what you earn, you're living to your limit.
Yeah.
So, you know, what I made in college when I was working is a lot less than what I make now, right? And a lot of people, they continue to increase their spending as they're increasing their earnings. And it's really hard when you're starting out and all of your needs take up all of your earnings.
Yeah.
You're not spending $5 a day on Starbucks. You know, you
Yeah.
can't cut that. You don't have cable. You can't cut that, right?
Yeah.
So you're already only spending on your needs. And what I would say to you that in that case is the slow and steady that Chris talked about. It will not always be this way. Continue to try to improve your earning. And that can be by working your way up in the company that you're in, or it can be by going to another company, right? That's why we see millennials and Generation Z changing jobs much more frequently than baby boomers and Gen Xers, is because they need the pay bump by going to a competitor, because their current employers aren't going to give them a raise.
Yeah.
And so the only way they can get that paid raise is to go to a competitor. So I would urge you to always keep your employment opportunities open. Learn what you can learn in the position that you're in now, and then use that to find a better position. Now, that's where the moderate spending comes in. You've been living on only your needs, right? You've been only buying your needs. Now you've got a little cushion, and instead of saying, "Oh, I've been scrimping so many years, now I'm gonna enjoy life a little," right?
Mm-hmm.
Split the difference. So let's say you get a raise of $200 a month, okay, in your new job or in your new promotion. Take that 200 and split it. Take 100 of it and put in savings for yourself. And then take 100 and live life a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But when you're in that scenario of where your needs take up every penny of your income, it's hard. It's really hard. And so the most important part is if you're able to put yourself as a priority and pay your future self, like Chris is talking about.
Yep.
Once you've got a little bit of that extra money, then make sure you begin to pay yourself in form of savings.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because one of the cycles of living living under that kind of financial stress is that when you have an emergency, car breaks down, something goes wrong, then we borrow. We use our credit card or we borrow from someone. And so now then we have debt on top of living very close to our means, right? So that's why as soon as you get a raise or an increase in your income, we want to put aside, not all of it, right? I'm not saying don't enjoy that hard work and go out for dinner once in a while or go to a concert, but I'm just saying give some to yourself for those emergencies too. Does that help? Does that explain it?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? I know, Bridget, we're running up on an hour and a half. Do we need to, I don't know what your schedule's like.
We are all in preparing for our conference tomorrow. Success in Sight. So ladies, I hope you are registered to attend. We'll have some remarks from Dr. Mashika Roberts, as well as our lovely panels. So I hope you will be in the room.
Cool.
Well, thank you all for letting us speak with you. It's really a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you,
it was.
Chris.
I thought it was great. And if you have I did post another website. At Bank of America Merrill Lynch, we've got Better Money Habits, and that's part of the presentation today. A lot of really, really great resources. So Tiana, I think you'll find some very, very helpful resources there, along with everyone else. So I appreciate your time, and we wish all of you the very, very best.
Have a beautiful, safe, and healthy weekend, everyone. Thank you for your time. Bank of America Chance, and thank you, ladies, for coming out today and spending this sunny afternoon with us. It's still chilly, though. Don't let
it is.
Oh, that sunny's a trickster.
Right.
Yep.
Enjoy, everyone. Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Enjoyed it.